An eruption that left everyone stunned. It was lying dormant for 12,000 years. These satellite images show ash clouds drifting over the Red Sea. This is Ethiopia's Hayli Gubbi volcano. But that's not the only volcano that erupted lately. Ethiopia, Indonesia, Russia, Hawaii, Colombia. 5 continents, 5 big eruptions. Is the world seeing more volcanic eruptions? To what extent can scientists predict these activities? And are you prepared when a dormant volcano like the latest Hayli Gubbi erupts? All this and much more on WION Wide Angle. On the 23rd of November, Ethiopia's Hayli Gubbi volcano erupted after 12,000 years of inactivity. Massive dark plumes of ash shot thousands of feet into the sky and traveled across continents, even reaching cities as far away as India's capital, New Delhi, in just 72 hours of the eruption. Yes, you heard that right. Later, the ash cloud moved from India towards China. The Hayli Gubbi volcano is located in Ethiopia's Afar region, about 800 kilometers northeast of Addis Ababa, near the Eritrean border. According to a local official, there were no casualties, but the eruption could have economic implications for the local community of livestock herders. The volcano, which rises about 500 meters in altitude, sits within the Rift Valley, a zone of intense geological activity where 2 tectonic plates meet. On the 25th of November, Indian Airlines, Air India and Akasa Air cancelled some flights after ash plumes from the volcanic eruption in Ethiopia disrupted operations. Air India said it had cancelled 11 flights on the 24th and 25th of November to make precautionary checks on aircraft that had flown over some locations after the eruption, following a directive to airlines from India's aviation regulator.
ये जो volcanic ash है, इसका impact सिर्फ upper troposphere.
The impact of volcanic ash is only on the upper troposphere. The impact is seen between 8.5 to 15 kilometers layer in the upper troposphere. Aircraft operations are being affected due to the plumes. Hence, the India Meteorological Department has been issuing significant meteorological information for volcanic ash through our aviation watch offices in Kolkata, Mumbai and Delhi airports, and we have been regularly updating them.
Significant meteorological information for volcanic ash. जारी कर रहे हैं, regular update हो रहा है.
Several flights were also delayed for hours, causing discomfort to the passengers.
I was supposed to come to India from Greece, and my halt was in Bahrain, and there, my flight was delayed for 2 hours. We were told that the weather in Delhi was not favorable for landing.
Hayli Gubbi is a shield volcano and a member of the Erta Ale range. It's located at the edge of the East African Rift, where the African and Arabian plates are slowly pulling apart. A shield volcano is a broad, gently sloping volcano that consists of many thin, fluid lava flows. Geological studies have shown that Hayli Gubbi is built mainly from dark basaltic lavas, but also contains more silica-rich rocks like trachytes and rhyolites. These lighter magmas can trap more dissolved gases, so when they rise, they're more likely to erupt explosively and throw ash high into the atmosphere. That's what happened on the 23rd of November, but why did it erupt now, after 12,000 years? While it's early days, scientists believe the answer lies deep under the rift. As the tectonic plates move apart, hot mantle rock rises and partially melts, feeding magma into shallow chambers beneath the volcano. Over millions of years, this magma can slowly build up and pressure the rocks above it.
In this specific case, since it is the Erupts Hayli range, which is Erupts Hayli is a magma lake, as you know. So the magma is not very deep, it is just close to the surface. So this eruption went off with no much earthquake activity, but it was energetic enough to cause very huge plume, volcanic plume in the atmosphere.
Scientists also say that there had been higher seismic activity over the past year in the Afar region in Ethiopia before the volcano erupted.
Or decision makers of any regime for that matter, we always undermine. We may not have such a big disaster in Ethiopia, but the last 1 year, in our doorsteps from Addis, for instance, there was an intense activity in Fantale that was being widely felt in Addis and other towns in the region. So it's also possible that that size of event can happen not far from Addis Ababa. So our preparation is very fragile.
In South America, authorities are closely monitoring Colombia's Purase volcano, which is sending a plume of ash into the air. Residents in nearby areas have been urged to remain vigilant and follow official guidance.
People who are within high threat areas need to be evacuated, and for now we ask the community not to approach the crater and maintain a distance from the volcano.
According to the Colombian Geological Service, the volcano's last significant eruption occurred in March 1977. Since 1827, at least 14 smaller eruptions have been recorded, causing material damage and loss of life, making it one of the most active volcanoes in the country. In Asia, residents of an Indonesian village in East Java province were left to grapple with the devastating damage of the Semeru volcano eruption on the 19th of November. Look at these visuals. The entire village got blanketed with pyroclastic mud and ash.
Yesterday, we saw ash coming down the mountain, and it reached our village in the afternoon. Everyone here ran, we evacuated to safer places, and in the evening, we checked back here, and everything was gone. Nobody knew how it really happened. We were all evacuating.
Moving to Russia now, where Bezymianny volcano erupted, spewing thick ash around 5 kilometers into the air. Located in Kamchatka, Bezymianny was at one point considered extinct because it had been dormant for around 1,000 years until 1955. Volcanic activity started in 1955, culminating in a dramatic eruption on the 30th of March 1956. This year, another dormant volcano erupted in the Kamchatka region of Russia's Far East. In August this year, in far eastern Russia, a volcano erupted for the first time in more than 500 years. The Krasheneninko volcano in Kamchatka threw up an ash plume up to 6 kilometers. Hours later, another large earthquake in Russia led to tsunami warnings in 3 areas of the peninsula. The overnight eruption of the Krasheneninko volcano in Kamchatka, its first in 500 years, said to be connected to the earthquake that rocked Russia's Far East on the 30th of July. It was one of the strongest earthquakes ever recorded. The videos showed buildings and other debris in the town of Severokurilsk being washed by the strong waves. The large quake prompted warnings and evacuations stretching across the Pacific Ocean. Kamchatka contains 300 volcanoes. This arc is part of the Ring of Fire. The Pacific Ring of Fire is a belt of intense seismic activity encircling the Pacific Ocean. It stretches from Chile to the US state of Alaska in the west and from New Zealand to Russia in the east. The Ring of Fire doesn't look like a circular ring. It is shaped more like a horseshoe that is about 4,000 kilometers long and up to 500 kilometers wide. It is home to about 75% of the world's active and dormant volcanoes and about 90% of the world's earthquakes. The Krasheninnikov volcano that erupted in Russia's Kamchatka is a dormant volcano. But what exactly is a dormant volcano? Let's find out. A dormant volcano is the one that hasn't erupted recently, but is still capable of erupting in the future. Unlike extinct volcanoes, dormant volcanoes are not considered dead. So if a volcano that has been silent for years erupts again or shows activity, it is a dormant volcano. Let's take a look at some of the dormant volcanoes that have not erupted in years. Mount Kilimanjaro is a large dormant volcano in Tanzania. It is the highest mountain in Africa and the highest freestanding mountain above sea level in the world, at 19,349 feet above sea level. Kilimanjaro is composed of three distinct volcanic cones: Kibo, Mawenzi, and Shira. Kibo is the summit of the mountain and the tallest of the three volcanic formations. While Mawenzi and Shira are extinct, Kibo is considered dormant and could possibly erupt again. Scientists estimate that the last time it erupted was 360,000 years ago. Mount Fuji is Japan's tallest mountain, rising 12,388 feet. Mount Fuji has been dormant since its last eruption in 1707, but it is still classified as active by geologists. There has been volcanic activity in the vicinity of Mount Fuji for several million years. Mount Rainier, also known as Tahoma, is a large active stratovolcano in the United States. The mountain is located in Mount Rainier National Park, about 95 kilometers south-southeast of Seattle. Due to high probability of an eruption in the near future and proximity to a major urban area, Mount Rainier is considered one of the most dangerous volcanoes in the world. According to the United States Geologic Survey, or USGS, there are approximately 1,500 potentially active volcanoes worldwide. Most are located around the Pacific Ocean in the Ring of Fire. When volcanoes erupt, they can spew hot, dangerous gases, ash, lava, and rock that can cause loss of life and property. Possible links between volcanoes and earthquakes have long fascinated experts in the field. So the question arises, are volcanoes and earthquakes interrelated? If so, can earthquakes trigger volcanic eruptions? Multiple lines of evidence from studies suggest that a connection could exist between the two geologic titans in certain situations. Both volcanoes and earthquakes occur due to the movement of the Earth's tectonic plates. They are both caused by the heat and energy released from the Earth's core. Under specific circumstances, earthquakes can trigger volcanic eruptions through severe movement of tectonic plates. Similarly, volcanoes can trigger earthquakes through the movement of magma within a volcano. A few large regional earthquakes, which are greater than magnitude 6, are considered to be related to an eruption or to some unrest at a nearby volcano. However, volcanoes can only be triggered into eruption by nearby tectonic earthquakes if they are already poised to erupt. This requires two conditions to be met: enough eruptible magma within the volcanic system, significant pressure within the magma storage region. Therefore, the aspect of how volcanoes and earthquakes are interrelated is to understand the cyclical relationship, where earthquakes cause volcanic eruptions and magma movement causes earthquakes. A volcano erupted in southwest Iceland on the 16th of July, releasing smoke and streams of lava. This is the latest eruption in a series of volcanic events near the capital, Reykjavik. The Reykjanes Peninsula has been witnessing increased geological activity in recent years. Iceland's meteorological office reported that magma pushed through the Earth's crust, creating a fissure estimated to be between 700 and 1,000 meters long. The eruption began with little warning, although ground deformation had been observed prior to the event. This marks the latest eruption in a region that had been dormant for nearly 800 years until activity resumed in 2021. Since then, Iceland has seen a dozen eruptions on the Reykjanes Peninsula alone. Back in April, a volcano in southwestern Iceland belched lava and smoke into the air, triggering warning sirens in the town of Grindavik, where molten rock started spewing toward the community. Emergency services evacuated the nearby Blue Lagoon luxury spa, as well as inhabitants from the fishing town of Grindavik in the hours ahead of the outbreak, as experts warned the eruption was imminent.
This eruption has been, we've been waiting for it for a while. We knew that the pressure was sufficient to drive an eruption to the surface. What happened this morning was that a strong earthquake swarm started at 6:45 in the morning. And through the first few hours, it was all the magma was moving below the surface. So it was making a new dike intrusion, similar to what we saw in the very initial phase back in November 23.
Iceland, often called the land of fire and ice, sits atop the mid-Atlantic ridge and is home to more than 30 active volcanic systems. Many of them, like Reykjanes, were considered dormant until recently. Another sleeping giant is nestled in the western part of the United States, and it hasn't risen from slumber in nearly 70,000 years. This giant is called the supervolcano that lies beneath Yellowstone National Park, the wildlife and forest preserve that extends through the states of Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana. The volcano is located in northwestern Wyoming, which is where the bulk of Yellowstone is contained. The group above the Yellowstone supervolcano sits on a hot spot made of molten and semi-molten rock called magma. Volcanologists who have been monitoring this activity since 1923 report that the ground rose approximately 25 centimeters or 9.8 inches between 2004 and 2009. However, in 2010, the land began to subside. So, is Yellowstone overdue for an eruption? At present, there is no sign that Yellowstone is on the verge of eruption. The U.S. Geological Survey currently lists Yellowstone's volcano alert level as normal, which is coded in the color green. However, any future eruption could have catastrophic consequences across North America and the globe. Then there's Hunga Tonga Hunga Ha'apai. While the volcano has been relatively quiet for several years, it erupted in 2022 and became one of the largest volcanic events of the 21st century. On the 15th of January in 2022, the Hunga Tonga Hunga Ha'apai volcano experienced an explosive eruption. On the 14th of January, the volcano started erupting. Tsunami warnings were issued, and waves of 30 centimeters were observed in Tonga's capital, Nuku'alofa. The main eruption happened the very next day, on the 15th of January. Nearly 200,000 flashes of lightning lit up the inside of the dark ash cloud for 11 hours. The US space agency NASA stated that the eruption was hundreds of times more powerful than the Hiroshima atomic bomb, referring to one of the 2 atomic bombs dropped by the United States on Japan during World War II. Interestingly, the volcano was declared dormant just 3 days before eruption on the 11th of January that year. However, this dormancy was short-lived. The massive eruption triggered tsunamis across various countries from Japan to the United States. A new study has revealed that climate change could awaken hundreds of dormant volcanoes around the world, which could further exacerbate the effects of global warming. Hundreds of volcanoes in regions like Antarctica, Chile, and Alaska sit beneath ice. As global temperatures rise, that icy cover melts. The weight once held above these volcanoes is lost, removing the pressure and triggering explosive activity. The findings were shared at the 2025 Goldschmidt Conference in Prague on the 8th of July. The study focused on 6 volcanoes in southern Chile, where eruptions were tracked from the last ice age. But this very idea that melting glaciers influence volcanoes is not new. Since the 1970s, scientists have suggested that disappearing ice might release pressure on Earth's crust. As gases and magma expand, the chance of eruption rises. This process has already been recorded in Iceland, where glacier loss led to volcanic activity. Volcanoes do interact with the climate by discharging substances into the atmosphere during eruptions. These eruptions emit large amounts of gases, particles, also known as aerosols, ash, and metals, all of which can temporarily alter the climate at local, regional, or global levels. As climate change continues to reshape our world, it remains to be seen which dormant volcano will unleash its fury next.